Things can change very quickly as we close in on the first votes being cast in the 2020 Democratic primary. Just look at the last 24 hours, which have been very good for Senator Bernie Sanders. Yesterday, I told you, 24 hours ago, I told you that Joe Biden had picked up some support both nationally and in Iowa in recent polls. The good news came in a big wave over the last 24 hours for Bernie Sanders, and let's go through it. We have a new national poll, a new California poll, and a new hypothetical matchups poll against Donald Trump to look at. Let's go through them one at a time. Starting with the national poll, the big story, a new CNN poll has Bernie leading nationally. The poll says Bernie 27, Joe Biden 24. There's a 3.5-point margin of error. So technically it could be tied, but again, a shift in momentum in the direction of Bernie Sanders. In this same poll, Elizabeth Warren is polling just 14. If we are to believe recent polls, we really have a two-candidate race right now. This is really Biden and Bernie. One of them will be the nominee if we can believe recent polls. If recent polls can be trusted, Elizabeth Warren is all but out of this thing, not polling in second place anywhere unless you go all the way back to an IBD poll that is like 15 or 20 polls old at this point in time. We'll get to more of that in a second. Next, new polling out of California, where in a University of Southern California Rossier School of Education poll, that's a mouthful, Bernie is leading, Bernie 28, Biden 24. Now, what's important to understand about California, California is a huge state population-wise, many delegates to be had from California, but very unlikely that California will be a difference maker in the primary. I'll explain why. California apportions delegates in proportion to the percentage of the vote that different candidates get. So if Bernie beats Biden 28 to 24, they get a very similar number of delegates out of California, 28 and 24%, respectively. If the numbers are flipped, it's still a very similar number of delegates for the two of them. So California is important momentum-wise. It's a huge state, and for PR purposes, it's important. But understand that, in 2016, Bernie lost the California primary to Hillary Clinton, but he had like 46% of the vote and got roughly 46% of the delegates. This time, because it's a bigger field, Bernie may win, but actually end up with fewer delegates than he did in 2016. But that's for the future. Once the first four primaries are out of the way, we'll look at California in more detail. And then third, and maybe most interestingly, we have another one of these hypothetical matchup polls where people are said, if the nominee were Bernie, how would you vote on Trump versus Bernie? If the nominee were Biden, how would you vote on Trump versus Biden? And the results are compelling. This is from Survey USA, consisting of more than 4,000 registered voters. The numbers are fascinating. The person with the biggest lead over Trump is Bernard Sanders, 52 to 43. Trump -9 against Bernie. Biden is defeating Trump by 7 in the hypothetical matchup. Bloomberg leading Trump by 6. Warren leading Trump by 3. Buttigieg leading Trump by 3, but with more undecideds. Andrew Yang leading Trump by 2. Even Tom Steyer is even with Trump. The two candidates that lose to Trump in the hypothetical matchups, Amy Klobuchar and Tulsi Gabbard, losing by the most, Trump ahead of Tulsi by 5, which will anger a small but loud portion of my audience. So what's the takeaway? Knowing that the establishment is going to run a full court press for Joe Biden throughout the primary, what this tells us is we've got a real race here, and the race is Biden versus Bernie. When it comes to facing Trump, Bernie is regularly doing the best against Trump compared to other candidates. That shouldn't be ignored when we think about electability. Unless someone can explain to me how Warren is still in this thing, I don't see her having a path to the nomination. So my question to you is, can we now say that this is almost completely a two-candidate race, Biden versus Bernie, or do you still see Warren or anybody else having a path to the nomination? I also can't restate the importance enough that we want to have a primary that doesn't hurt our chances of removing Donald Trump. So yesterday I talked about Hillary Clinton's comment that nobody likes Bernie. and her hesitation to say she would support Bernie if he is the nominee. That's the self-destructive garbage that is the last thing we need, the absolutely last thing we need right now. Let's get out there. Let's support the people we like based on their policies. Let's vote. Let's then rally around the removal of Donald Trump. A very solid couple of days for Bernie Sanders. Reminder, my question to you, is Warren still in this thing? She seems to be out to me, but I want to hear from you. We will continue our coverage of this on our Instagram page. Make sure you're following The David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. While you're there, follow me at david.pakman. I know that the David Pakman Show audience is full of curious and creative people who love learning new things and bettering themselves. And that's why I'm so excited to tell you about one of our sponsors, Skillshare, the vibrant online learning community that offers thousands of classes on almost any topic you can imagine. And you'll get full access to the entire library of classes for 2 entire months free when you go to davidpakman.com/skill. All of the classes are taught by experts in their fields. They've got classes on drawing, painting, photography, video editing, web design, bookkeeping, marketing, personal productivity. Doesn't even scratch the surface. I recently took a class about photography. If anybody follows me on Instagram, you know that my photography skills leave much to be desired. And it was great. I got so much out of it. And hopefully you will see the fruits of me taking that class reflected in my Instagram pictures sooner than later. They have classes for every skill level, whether you're wanting to get better at something you already have experience with, you want to learn something totally new to you, you set your own pace. Classes are usually less than an hour long. They're divided up into bite-sized segments so you can easily fit them into your schedule. Make 2020 a year where you explore new skills, deepen existing passions, get lost in creativity. Skillshare really makes it easier than ever. Skillshare memberships are less than $10 a month, and that gives you access to the thousands of classes they offer. But everybody in the David Pakman Show audience gets a Skillshare membership totally free for 2 whole months. Just go to davidpakman.com/skill. That's davidpakman.com/SKILL.